Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. A pleasure to connect with you through the I Love CVille network, the Virginia Film Festival right around the corner. And we're very excited to welcome two key members of the Virginia Festival to today's program. Chandler Ferrebee, our guest. She's the communications manager and assistant programmer at the Virginia Film Festival. She will join us in a matter of moments. We also have Jody Kielbasa in the house. And we're going to spotlight Jody from a humanizing, personalizing, and localizing standpoint on today's program. I'm very excited to spotlight an event that has been part of my life for some time. I think it's a part of many people's lives here in Charlottesville, certainly something that epitomizes the best of Charlottesville, Virginia. Culture and entertainment, family-friendly, positive, community-driven, the Virginia Film Festival. Before we welcome our esteemed panel to the show, let's first thank some of the clients that make the program possible. At VMV Brands and I Love CVille, we're an advertising agency. 11 years of tenure here in our community. Two of our very, very proud clients are Interstate Pest and Service Companies and Dr. Scott Wagner of Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine. Anything that interfaces with the marketplace from an advertising or branding standpoint originates on the first and second floor here in the Macklin Building on Market Street. First, let's start with Interstate. This company started in 1969 with the first generation, Mr. Robert Wells. He used his personal truck and some sweat equity to build a business. Today, Interstate Pest and Service Companies has almost 100 employees and 4 generations of family running the company. It has a Commonwealth-wide footprint, and they, without question, are committed from a social entrepreneurship standpoint to making Charlottesville better for all of us. Just like Dr. Wagner. Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, that tagline, who's got your back, something we manifested after a couple glasses of wine here at VMV Brands. Chiropractic care, sports medicine, physical therapy, Dr. Wagner making a very positive impact in our community. Now, Judah Wickhauer is the director of the show. He essentially is making us look good. Why don't we start with the studio camera, please, and let's welcome Chandler and Jody to the show. Why don't we start with ladies first? And we're going to go with Chandler. We try to really give some insight into our guests. Yeah. So why don't we start with the question of what makes Chandler tick? What are you all about?
Film, honestly.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the perfect job for what I love. It's my favorite thing. I've grown up loving films, and yeah, it's my biggest interest.
I love it. Favorite movie of all time?
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why?
I love that character. I get more from it every time I watch it. The Coen Brothers direction in that film is just brilliant.
Coen Brothers, absolutely fabulous. Jody, let's get you in the mix. Now, you're a man of many hats. You're a man that undoubtedly loves Charlottesville.
I do love Charlottesville. It's been a real privilege to live here, to be a part of the University of Virginia, but I think even beyond that, to be a part of this community. I've raised my family here. We moved here about 10 and a half years ago from Sarasota, Florida, and we've fallen in love with the community.
Naples, Florida boy right here. Got Florida in my blood, without question. You're the director of the Virginia Film Festival, vice provost of the arts of the University of Virginia. Why don't we talk, before we get to UVA and the film festival, passions, hobbies, and interests?
Well, without a doubt, passion is the arts, something I've grown up with, something I've loved all my life. I was a professional actor years ago living in Hollywood. This is a dream job for me because I think some of my other loves and interests are professionally are politics and government. And so running the Virginia Film Festival, I get to work with the Miller Center, the Center for Politics, to be able to screen some incredible films that deal with politics and government, but also more broadly films that provide a platform here for discussion in our community, and that's something that I really love to do.
Welcome Ray Cadell to the program, Suzanne Jenkins, James Watson, Kevin Higgins, Greg Dione, Lauren Linsky. Give it a like and a share on any of the streams that you're watching. We have a lot in common. Love the arts, love the cosmopolitan nature of Charlottesville, yet its sense of intimacy and community and safety. I feel like as a 19-year resident of Charlottesville, came here as a first year, doe-eyed, very naive. I've very much come into my oats in this community, and it's gotten its hooks, like so many of us, Charlottesville has into me. What do you love about this community?
Well, I think, to begin with, it's really an extraordinary community, really smart people, people that care about other people. I always have said that this is a great university town that also has an element of crunchy granola. I like it that people are not pretentious. And it's a community that wants to do better and wants to continue to grow. Like any community, I think it has some shortcomings here, and yet people want to try and confront that and make it a better community. And I think that that's really important.
I love it. Great answer. Andre Xavier, owner and CEO of CVille Hop-On Tours, welcome to the show. Al Schornberg, the owner and founder of Keswick Vineyards, watching right now. Chandler, let's get you in the mix. Virginia Film Festival, just an institution. What are some of the aspects that you love about working alongside this fabulous brand that is now in its 32nd year?
Yeah, I mean, the establishment of that brand is amazing that people trust our programming and are excited about us every year, that we have the audience built in is such a blessing and a privilege to be able to program for an audience that is so loyal and loves going to the festival every year.
32 years of doing this. When you got involved, 32 years. I mean, did you think when you got involved for the first time that the brand could one day have tenure like this?
Well, I took it out over in its 22nd year.
Right.
So this is my actually 11th Virginia Film Festival, and my hope was to continue to grow this and to change it a little bit. When I came here, there was a theme that defined the festival every year. It was chosen in January, and then the festival would happen in October and November. And I think that idea had lost its steam after a while, and so we abandoned the theme because not having an overarching theme actually allows us to explore a whole variety of themes. We can do religion, politics, sexuality, the environment, the economy, almost anything we can explore. Great international films, and we're not pigeonholed. And so the festival's morphed during that time, and now our goal is to show the very best cinema that's out there in a given year, and also to program films that we think will have an impact in our community, that will deal with topics and issues that resonate here locally. So that's really how the festival's changed. And as a result of that, in the past 10 years, we've more than doubled the number of screenings that we do. And the attendance has grown dramatically. I think the year before I arrived, it was around 11,000. And for the past five years, we've averaged over 30,000 attendances during the festival. So I think it's something really that community's engaged in, and we're very fortunate to have their support.
Former NBC 29 TV anchor Annie Schultz watching right now in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I count 6 states watching the program now. Give it a like, give it a share. I will get to the questions that are coming into the feed in a matter of moments. One of the things that I love about the Virginia Film Festival is the like you said, the melting pot, the water cooler nature of the festival. It's this melting pot of many different people with many different backgrounds, with many different ideologies, many different ways of viewing the world. And they come together for this discussion that's so dynamic.
Well, you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the things that distinguishes our festival. Of course, we're a program of the University of Virginia, so we're able to rely on a lot of faculty that are experts to place the films in context and frame them. But we also bring in community experts and outside experts. And the real festival sometimes happens right after the films, where the community comes together in the coffee houses and in the restaurants, and they're talking about what they've just seen and exploring those ideas even further. And then sometimes, very often, they end up adopting the filmmakers that we come in and go out and grab a beer with them or a cup of coffee afterwards and have some really, really incredible discussions.
It appeals to me, like I said, 19 years here. Now I'm a father. I have an 18-month-old, have a wife. When I first started attending the festival, a bachelor, in my early mid-20s, my interests and what I was all about, very different than where I'm at now. And the festival has got a taste of something for everyone.
Well, I think that's our hope. I mean, for me, I'm always interested in expanding our audiences, and there's different entry points in the festival for those audiences. We have a lot of very high-profile films like Marriage Story during the festival that stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, and that's going to be a very high-profile film that's in the discussion for an Academy Award. But then we have these remarkable documentaries that explore a myriad of subjects, incredible international films that are part of the Festival as well. And then for people that are sort of in between right now in their lives, we have a great family day on the ground, the Betsy and John Castine Arts Grounds, and we invite family to bring their young children out. Sometimes it's the first film experience that those kids have outside of their own homes. And it's a great way to introduce your kids to actually going to the movies. So this year we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street. We have a walk around Elmo for the young kids there. So, maybe 18 months it's about time to introduce your child to Elmo if they already know. So there you go.
Christopher Jenkins is giving you some props right now. Kelly Sively giving you some props. Ezriel Black watching you right now. Amanda Kathleen and Bob Yarborough watching the program. Give it a like, give it a share on any of the streams you're watching. I'm going to throw this to you here. The festival opens on a Wednesday for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that.
We decided to add an extra day this year, and
Yeah.
we have our school screening and our opening night film and our gala, and it's a nice opening to the festival. And our opening night film is Just Mercy, starring Michael B. Jordan and Jamie Foxx, and we kind of have a Bryan Stevenson double feature of sorts with our school screening as True Justice, Bryan Stevenson's Fight for Equality, and then True Justice that evening with where Michael B. Jordan's playing Bryan Stevenson, who's a true American hero that people should know more about his story.
Just Mercy. Talk to me about Just Mercy. I mean, big time film here.
So this is the story of Bryan Stevenson, who came out of Harvard as a lawyer, could have worked almost anywhere in the country, and chose to go down to Montgomery, Alabama, where he started the Equal Justice Initiative to take a look at the number of people that are incarcerated and on death row, and in many cases have been wrongfully accused and wrongfully convicted. To date, in 20 years, they have freed over 130 people that were on death row. So imagine, and proven them to have been innocent. And this is actually the story of Walter McMillian, who was, I think, incarcerated for over 20 years, wrongfully on death row, and his fight to free Walter and to establish this Equal Justice Initiative. There are a lot of touch points here for people in Charlottesville because...
It hits close to home.
It does hit close to home, but also Bryan Stevenson began the memorial for Peace and Justice down there, which is essentially the lynching museum. And in the past year, we had a group of citizens bring the soil from where lynching took place here in Charlottesville many years ago, John Henry James, and they presented that soil to Bryan Stevenson for inclusion in the museum as well. So again, there's a lot of points here I think that resonate very strongly in Charlottesville.
Your 11th year with the Virginia Film Festival. Give us some X's and O's behind the scenes strategy of how you go about choosing the films, choosing the speakers, the guests that are arriving to the festival.
So we start every year in January, generally by going to the Sundance Film Festival. There's a number of other festivals that we attend, the AFI Doc Film Festival, the Full Frame Film Festival in Durham, North Carolina, and then the Telluride Film Festival, which actually happens every year over Labor Day weekend. And that has a lot of the highest profile films that are going to come out that are likely to be the fall releases that play into the Golden Globes and the Academy Awards. So we go to those festivals, we watch those films. Chandler runs a call for entry, and we have hundreds and hundreds of submissions, films that are being sent to us to view, to consider, to be included in the program. And of course, we're doing a lot of research on festivals all around the world, including Cannes and Locarno and the Venice Film Festival, and then the big festival circuit that happens in the early fall, which is Telluride and the Toronto International Film Festival, one of the largest in the world, and of course the New York Film Festival, all of which play into our final selections.
Tim is watching in Crozet. Jerry, I love your show. I've gone to the film festival for 14 straight years. I'm curious of your guests' favorite movie that's ever shown in the festival and their favorite interaction with any of their keynote speakers that have come to the festival. Why don't I throw that to Chandler? Am I putting you on the spot with that one there?
Yeah, no, that's fine. I usually have those. I've been going to the festival for 10 years, so it is kind of hard to pick, but probably Call Me By Your Name was that film, I've seen it a million times. It's really important to me. And it's always special to be able to see something in the Paramount like that. Or La La Land, where I spent the last 15 minutes bawling my eyes out.
How about favorite, is it safe to say, or is it safe to call them guest keynote speakers? What is the right moniker there?
There are guest artists that we bring in.
So they're guests. Favorite guests?
Last year we had this actor in from Relaxer named Joshua Burge, and he was here the whole weekend and kind of just became friends with staff, and we actually saw him again when we were in LA this summer, so it's nice to be able to meet these artists and then continue those friendships.
Same question for you, Jody.
So I think one of my very favorite festival experiences was a number of years ago. We screened All the President's Men, marking the 40th anniversary of the actual Watergate break-in that started the whole scandal.
One of my favorite books.
Yeah, one of my favorite books as well. We had Woodward and Bernstein here in Charlottesville on the stage at the Paramount for a discussion that was moderated by Governor Gerald Baliles, who was one of the original founders of the Virginia Film Festival, and it was just a transcendent evening. It was absolutely incredible. They had driven down from Washington, D.C. together, had a great time. I was fortunate enough to share dinner with them before. It was 4 days before Obama was reelected, so they were dishing a little bit on the election coming up, which was great fun to hear from them, and then just an extraordinary conversation. I remember when Bernstein was asked, did you ever really feel like you were in danger of your life? And he said, oh yeah. So that scene in the elevator where suddenly he becomes paranoid in All the President's Men is based on the reality of the pressure that they were under and the fact that they thought that maybe they might get killed in exposing this.
Bob Yarborough, I'm very much looking forward to Parasite. The Virginia Film Festival. More questions coming in. We will get to this in a matter of moments. I have some questions myself. Ethan Hawke, one of my favorite actors, love the movie Training Day. He, I thought, stole the movie from Denzel, and that is no easy task, being able to steal the silver screen from Denzel. Ethan Hawke, as a guest on the Virginia Film Festival, how do you go about doing that?
Well, I mean, we're really fortunate, and sometimes you're just fortunate that things go your way. In this case, Ethan is actually shooting a series called Good Lord Bird that's being filmed here in the Commonwealth of Virginia right now, and of course that's the story of the John Brown Harper's Ferry raid. And we were in touch with him very early to see if he might consider coming in, and he graciously said yes, and we were in communication back and forth with he and his team, and he was interested in screening a film that he thinks maybe is a little overlooked, and that film is Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Of course, Philip Seymour Hoffman co-stars in that film with him, so we'll be screening that film, and then we're having a conversation immediately following with Ethan, both about that film and of course his entire career as well. So we're just lucky to have him.
A local superstar who we see often in Charlottesville, John Grisham, part of the Virginia Film Festival. His son Ty works in the building next to ours. We see him often walking right in front of our building, the Macklin, here on Market Street. He is going to be here to talk about the 25th anniversary of The Client. Just a fabulous book, fabulous movie. Talk to me about this.
Yeah, I mean, once we found out that it was the anniversary of The Client, it's always really exciting to be able to engage someone who's not only an international superstar, but also a local of Charlottesville. So we've been really excited to be able to work with him on this screening.
John Grisham in the mix.
So,
well done.
Thank you. The thing with John Grisham is almost every year it's an anniversary year. The year before it was The Firm,
right?
I believe.
Tom Cruise played that well.
Yes. So he's had really, when you think about it, how many of his novels have been turned into major, Hollywood films? It's really an extraordinary career. You think of a Time to Kill.
Christmas with the Cranks. Remember that one?
Christmas with the Cranks.
Right. So different than his other one. Stands out. Just fabulous writer.
You know something? I was not even aware of that. I missed that entirely. I'm also thinking there's a baseball movie that he did as well about a kid that slipped. The title slipped my mind. Besides some of the more obvious titles, with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood that have starred with his films, The Pelican Brief, Denzel Washington again over there, and Julia Roberts. So I mean, really, incredible career with all the novels. But it's just unusual that so many have been turned into hit Hollywood films.
Do you have a favorite actor or actress? If so, whom? That's the toughest question I'm asking you now, right?
I will say, actually, my favorite actor of all time is Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah?
And he was a guest the second year of the Virginia Film Festival.
During your tenure?
No.
Okay.
No, I've only been
second
there 11
ever.
years.
Second ever. Okay,
yeah.
not
So
yours
it takes
second
it back
year.
to over 30 years ago.
Gotcha.
He was one of the very first guests, and just remarkable career. And when you think about it, this was a guy who sort of played the everyman so well, but he played comedies, he played in westerns, he played in the Hitchcock thrillers, and he did it all so well, so well. So it really has to be one of my favorite actors.
Your passion is so tangible and palpable for this. I'm just drawn into your energy. Someone whose passion and hobbies and love for the arts and for film and for the theater and for acting, and to be a part of the film festival in such an important capacity. I'm embarrassing you a little bit here. I mean, this has got to be such a joy for you.
Well, it really is. And I think that, part of that also is bringing the community together. I mean, that's one of the great things about watching films is it's still, people are always saying, oh, film is dying out. They're watching it on devices. They're watching it on laptops. There's nothing quite like seeing a film in a movie theater.
Amen.
It's a shared communal experience. And that's why people still go to big films to see them because they want that first time experience, the laughter, the tears that are shared in that experience. And so to be able to bring the community together around a festival like this, to have people sometimes see a foreign film perhaps that opens a window on a different community is really incredible. To see how we're different but also have shared experiences is really important.
What do you think about Steven Spielberg's commentary of the movies that are released in the Netflix or Amazon streaming format? You know where I'm going with this.
I
should not be included in the major award ceremonies.
So,
he makes some good points there.
I think he does make good points. On the other hand, you have Netflix and Amazon and now Apple that are making major plays, and they're providing platforms for these artists. Scorsese with The Irishman is a perfect example. That's going to have a release, albeit a limited release. Last year, Roma had one of those releases. It was a limited release for 3 weeks. So it was in movie theaters, not in the traditional way that a movie plays for, let's say, months or a longer time. But then, the platforms keep changing. And I think, Hollywood has to learn how to adapt to that.
Is the democratization of film content, specifically how it's streamed through Netflix, Amazon, and Apple, is this good for the industry in totality?
That's a tough call. I think what's going to happen, and like anything, is the industry is going to continue to adapt. I still think, and I think the festival proves that there will continue to be a market for movie theaters, that people will want to have that experience. But there's so much content out there, and this has provided more content and more opportunities for more people to tell their stories. And at the end of the day, filmmaking is about storytelling.
I think it's great, because I think if we have more access to the content and more access to the stories and more approachability to the process, then it's going to drive more engagement throughout the industry, and it creates an ecosystem where you don't necessarily have to have the social connections or the deep pockets to pursue a passion.
I think you're right in that regard. The flip side of that,
I love this conversation.
The flip side of that,
Please.
sometimes, and this is something we've experienced over the years and having a call for entries where films are submitted, is that filmmaking has become easier because the technology has become easier, but then sometimes everybody thinks they know how to make a film.
Touche.
It's not always the case.
Touche.
Yeah. So, it does open up the platform for people, and I think that that's a good thing.
I love it. Chandler, we'll get you in the mix here. How about the grassroots nature of the film festival? Folks that maybe are new to the brand think maybe Downtown Mall or Paramount. Film festival is something that you can enjoy throughout the community. Throw it to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's great that it's spread throughout the community and on grounds and over at St. Anne's and downtown, and yeah.
Throw the same question to you here.
So again, we're all about the community. I think we are spread out, as Chandler said. We're on the grounds of the University of Virginia. We're on the Downtown Mall, and there's a real hub on the Downtown Mall with the Violet Crown, with the Old Vinegar, now Lighthouse Theaters, and of course with the Paramount Theater. We're over at the PVCC Performing Arts Center as well. Our high school screening is downtown with the Paramount. We're bringing people down, and I can say what's really great about the festival is that it's all kind of contained. There's this incredible energy. You'll see the filmmakers, because they've got their badges on, going in and out of the coffee shops and the restaurants on the downtown mall, coming in and out of the theaters, a lot of the sponsors of the festival, but you can just tell who's been going to the movies as they're rushing out of the theaters. And I can say that it's also great for business here on the downtown mall, and I think particularly coming after the
Downtown mall needs it.
Yeah, well, after the tragic events of August 11th and 12th, when I think the businesses and restaurants were suffering down here, this becomes a 5-day shot in the arm for everybody, which I think is really great.
I love it.
I know last year I went to Mud House and they said it was their best weekend of the year every year.
That's fantastic. How about the music component with the festival? A new Bruce Springsteen concert documentary in the mix.
I'm proud of that. We are one of the only film festivals that is screening this in North America. It premiered at the Toronto Film Festival several weeks ago. We're very fortunate. We're partnering with the Miller Center on this. Bill Antholis, the director, happens to be friends with the director who's coming in, and Bill's going to moderate that conversation afterwards. But once again, this is about one of the greatest storytelling troubadours of our time, Bruce Springsteen, and his stories really define the American ethos. It's all about that. And so this is a new concert documentary about his latest album that's coming out. It's, I think, deeply personal to Bruce Springsteen, and so I think this is just going to be a great watch for everybody out there.
And Chandler, maybe you can offer some insight into the other music films in the program.
Yeah, it's a great place to showcase local stories like Southern Journey, which is the director of that film directed a film we showed last year called The Ballad of Shirley Collins, and then we had this big screening of this film called Fiddlin', where there was a big performance afterward, and that inspired him to make this new film, Southern Journey, showcasing a lot of those musicians. So it's nice to be able to tell that full circle story that started here at the festival. And Sing You a Brand New Song, which is about Coleman Mellett. He's a jazz musician that tragically died in a plane crash, and one of his musical partners found some of his unfinished recordings and put together that album, and it's about their story of doing that. And then Gay Chorus Deep South is a really, really incredible film about the San Francisco Gay Men's Choir and a tour they did of the southern states and a lot of the bad memories that they deal with for growing up there, but also connecting with those communities.
Welcome NBC 29 and CVille Weekly to the program. Thank you for joining us. We love when the reporters watch the show. Charlottesville, synonymous with a handful of things, Jody. Of course, the University of Virginia. Of course, culture, fantastic live music, fantastic shop local, support local. Food, also synonymous with Charlottesville, Virginia. The Inn at Little Washington. Talk to me here.
The Inn at Little Washington, a delicious new documentary, really chronicles Chef Patrick O'Connell and the work that he's done to grow that into one of the most extraordinary restaurants in the country, if not the world. It's developed one of the most incredible reputations. I remember 20 years ago when I first started dating my wife.
You took her there?
I took her there.
Wow, you wooed her.
We had read an article in the New Yorker magazine. It was like 20 pages long, all about him establishing this incredible restaurant as a destination. And over the years, heads of state, remarkable politicians, Hollywood celebrities, and big-time foodies have traveled in to dine at the Inn at Little Washington. So this new documentary chronicles that. We're going to have the director and Chef Patrick here on stage for a moderated discussion immediately following as well.
I've had the pleasure of dining there once with my fabulous wife. As much about the food, and the food is amazing, as it is about just the experience.
It is. It's all about the experience, I think. It's a beautiful place. The feeling of just dining there is really great. Ambiance is perfect. And, of course, the food is extraordinary. Talk
to us about the maybe the behind the scenes of something like that, of how you get a film like this in the Virginia Film Festival. Because I'm maybe, foodie, very passionate about food. Been there as well. So I know the brand. Very passionate about this aspect of the festival.
Well, this is a partnership, actually, with VPM, Virginia's Home for Public Media, and we're thrilled to have that partnership. And part of what they're always doing is trying to find new content. So they're behind the producing of this film, and they had shared it with us, and we flipped over the film. I mean, it's a fun watch. The film itself is only an hour long, and then to think that we have this remarkable institution that's really just a short drive from here, about an hour and 10 minutes to get there, that is world-renowned, and to be able to have this behind-the-scenes look at it with the chef himself on hand was something that we would not pass up.
Well said. Chandler, let's get you in the mix about Family Day. Father, husband, 18-month-old. One thing, and I don't know if you have kids. Do you have kids?
3.
One thing that you obviously know is if you're able to get your kid out of the house and engaged in some capacity, he's probably going to be more well-behaved, and a well-behaved child means harmony for mom and dad. Family Day, Saturday, October 26th.
Yeah, it's a really fun year. It's the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street, so we'll be showing an episode of Sesame Street for families, and then we're honored to have Walk Around Elmo to join us and to be able to interact with kids in that way.
I would love to hear your perspective on Family Day, Joe.
So Family Day is something that we started really when I first came here, and it's something that's grown over the years. And really the idea is to engage children, not only to be able to love film, but to be involved in the creative process. We have a lot of outreach and educational programs. We have the Young Filmmakers Academy, where we have 600 elementary school students that write, create, produce, edit, and star in their own films, and that's in partnership with Lighthouse, which is one of our great nonprofit organizations here that specializes in filmmaking. So they go into the school systems and they help these kids make these films, and then they're screened actually as a special day with Lighthouse as well. And then this Family Day at the Arts Grounds every year, whether we screen a Disney movie or in this case, the very best of the 50 years of Sesame Street in a curated program with Elmo on hand. It's a way to bring your child down. We have a musical petting zoo that the Charlottesville Symphony provides. We have a bunch of interactive arts workshops for the children. It's all free. There's great parking available right at the Culberth parking garage, and it's sort of one-stop shop for families. They can spend 4 hours there and have a great time for their kids.
Laura Long's watching in Richmond. Jerry, I love your show. I'm class of 1999 from UVA. As you know, we love coming to the Virginia Film Festival. I'm curious if you asked Mr. Kielbasa what his plans are for the festival in the next 11 years of his tenure.
Well, that's very kind. I want to continue to grow the festival, but I don't think for us it's any longer just about growth. I really think it's about every year bringing the very best films to the Virginia Film Festival, engaging our community more fully every year, and providing the very best artists to engage this community in dialogue every year. So that's really what it's about for us more than anything. We hope that this brings some acclaim to Charlottesville. It's something that people here in the community are proud of, but also brings positive recognition to Charlottesville as well, that there are these great festivals like the Virginia Film Festival, like the Virginia Festival of the Book, and the Tom Tom Festival that are happening here in Charlottesville, that people can travel in to be part of that, and also that our own community has embraced and is very proud of.
How long have you been in Charlottesville?
This is 11 years for me now.
11 years. How have you seen it change?
Well, it's getting bigger. I live out in Crozet, and Crozet has exploded. I remember when I first came here, people said, "Oh, Crozet is so crowded," and I was like, "Yeah, you mean the 2 cars at the 4-way stop sign?" But it really has exploded during that time, and it's growing with a lot of new communities out there. So that's part of the change. I do think that our community is becoming more and more aware of social justice issues and social inequity, and is willing to explore that and confront that. So I think that that's a good thing too. But I found this to be just a remarkable place to raise children. It's a beautiful place to live, and I love it. And as I mentioned before, working for the university and living here in Charlottesville has been one of the great privileges of my life, and I mean that.
I totally agree with what you said, and this show, small aspect of what we do with this business, but it's a byproduct of August 11th and 12th. Own most of this building here. I was outside the building on A11 and A12. My son was in my wife's belly and I knew that eventually he was going to get to history class, and he was going to read one day about A11 and A12 in Charlottesville, Virginia, and I wanted to relay to my son about Dad's perspective from being there firsthand. Got in a little funk for about 70 days afterwards, where the stuff that I saw was lingering in my head, couldn't shake it. My wife helped me shake it and said, why don't you do something that you do and have passion about and spotlight influencers and people of positive nature that are making the community better, essentially the Jodys of the world here.
Thank you.
And that's how this show was birthed. Where I'm going to go with this is I respect and appreciate the fact that the Virginia Film Festival is willing to air content that is timely and fits the news cycle of Charlottesville, Virginia, to help us, to assist us have the conversation or start thinking or inspire the community to change.
Well, thank you. Those are very kind words. I can tell you we're fully invested in that process. And I think that one of the reasons is that film's just a very inclusive and accessible way to reach people. People will watch a film and they can get changed watching that film. Their opinions can get changed. And then to have, again, an inclusive dialogue, hopefully a non-threatening dialogue afterwards for people, that's the platform that we provide. So you'll see throughout all of the festivals that I've been a part of in the 11 years here at Charlottesville, an underlying theme of social justice and civil rights that are visited quite strongly every year. And sometimes we're very obvious by having a sidebar, this year an LGBTQIA plus sidebar. We were actually beginning a Race in America program in partnership with Montpelier 6 months before the events of August 11th, 12th happened. And they happened, and 2 days later, I got a call from Spike Lee saying, I want to come to Charlottesville. I want to screen. Yes, it was amazing. My cell phone rang, and it was Spike Lee on the phone.
Right. I was just going to ask you, what's going through your mind? Spike Lee's on the phone.
Yes, Spike. And I was, and he said I wanted to come down and screen 4 little girls because he said what happened here was domestic terrorism. What happened in that church bombing many years ago to those 4 little girls was domestic terrorism as well, and I want to come down and have a dialogue with your community. Well, that strengthened what we were doing even more at that time, and we continue with that Race in America series. One of the things we're doing this year, which I think is also an extension of that, is we're trying to make sure that as we focus on Race in America, it's not always just about the struggle, that we're celebrating the positive aspects of different cultures as well, too, and what they bring to the table that are joy-affirming, life-affirming, and joyous. Interestingly enough, we have, and this is not in America, but we have a Kenyan filmmaker coming in. Her film Rafiki was in the festival last year and was banned in Kenya because it explores a same-sex relationship between 2 women, taboo in Kenya. And she's coming in, and we're reprising that screening this year, and she's part of a movement that she's been part of starting called Afro Bubblegum, which is the affirmation of healthy, happy, financially stable Africans. And celebrating that lifestyle and that aspect as opposed to the struggle. So we want to be careful that we're balancing that as we program the festival as well. And hopefully that's evident in this year's program.
Once an actor, always an actor. You mentioned in the beginning of the show an actor, okay? Your favorite aspects of movies. We often have musicians playing live music here. I ask them whether it's the songwriting, the performing, whether it's the singing, the playing of the instrument. How about for you?
Well, I think there's nothing I enjoy more than watching actors at the top of their craft be truly excellent. But I also recognize they're part of an art form that has everything to do with cinematography, with the music that you mentioned that can completely sway. I mean, listen to a film without the music, and it's not quite the same thing at all. So it is a village that puts together a film, and a very important one, essentially, with all the artists that work on that. But for me, having been an actor, I'm always going to view film, I think, through the eyes of an actor, and that's sort of my starting point with a film.
I started falling in love with movies from kind of like a more macro standpoint through Walter Cortez Cinemas and Art Form class at the University of Virginia. That's when a movie like Goodfellas and its nuances and its subplots and the music that Martin Scorsese chose to integrate into the movie really started having an impact for me. And that's a testament to Mr. Corte. I'm going to throw this to you, Chandler. Give us the way, should anyone that's watching this program, how they can get involved, how they can volunteer, how they can purchase tickets. They want to engage with the brand in any capacity.
Yeah.
Talk to us about
VirginiaFilmFestival.org. If you're interested in volunteering, we're still accepting volunteers. You can view the entire program on there. You can buy tickets through there. It's really guide to the festival.
Okay. We'll throw this question to you, Jody. You've mentioned Sundance Film Festival, which I think in a lot of ways is the pinnacle. The Toronto Film Festival, the Telluride Film Festival. The Virginia Film Festival, in a lot of ways, is becoming a gold standard. What is the gold standard for you, and what does the Virginia Film Festival, what can it do to continue to raise its profile?
Well, I mean, to begin with, there's probably over 1,000 film festivals
every year.
Every year in the United States alone. I mean, there's so many communities that have them. For me, what's important to me is that the Virginia Film Festival reflects our community here in Charlottesville, that it's a festival that continues to matter in our community by presenting really high-quality films that people want to see, and that ultimately we provide this platform for discussion in the community. And to me, if we're doing that and we're doing it well, we're firing on all cylinders for the community here. Beyond that, of course, I'd love for the festival to continue to grow in stature and be recognized as a very important regional film festival that films should and must play at, and the top artists attend. I feel that we're one of the very largest and most important festivals in the Mid-Atlantic right now. I'm proud of that. I think it reflects well on the University of Virginia and the community of Charlottesville and on the Commonwealth of Virginia. We are the state film festival for the Commonwealth of Virginia, started by Governor Gerald Baliles many years ago. So we want to continue to reinforce that brand and continue to provide quality programming for our community.
October 23rd through the 27th. What does that time period look like for you, Jody?
It's busy. I get up at 5:30 or 6 a.m. every morning, and I get home around 2 o'clock in the morning. So we are on the ground at the film festival. We start with an 8:30 a.m. staff meeting, and then I spend most of the rest of the day moving from film to introduce those films, greet the filmmakers, sometimes participate in panels, greet guests and patrons, and wind up at the end of the evening at a lot of our special events. So, and then go home and start all over again the very next morning.
I love it. Same question for you, Chandler.
Pretty much the same. I am not dedicated enough to get up that early, though. I roll out a little closer to the staff meeting. But yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, running around, introing films, moderating, and then also overseeing a lot of our social media. It's such a gold mine for that kind of content that making sure we capture that sort of thing.
I love it. 12 Facebook pages we're broadcasting this show on. We're certainly very grateful for your time. Dot the I's, cross the T's. 45 minutes into the show here. Virginia Film Festival, something for everyone.
There really is something for everyone. We have over 150 films in the festival. We have incredible guest artists coming in. We have documentaries, we have narratives, we have short films, high-profile films, and then little-known international films or independent films. Really something for everybody in this festival, and we really, really want to make sure that the community knows they are welcome and invited to attend.
Jody, thank you for your time. Chandler, same.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you to John Kelly for helping set up this interview. We will take today's show and we will archive it in its totality on ilovecville.com. We will take the audio from today's program and by close of business today, turn it into a podcast on iTunes. For 30 days following the show, in fact, we will do a more concentrated push with the festival around the corner. We will syndicate the show across 17 Facebook pages, 17 Twitter accounts, the third largest Instagram community in Charlottesville and Central Virginia, which is I Love CVille, a daily e-newsletter that goes out to 108,000 inboxes, and of course the exposure on ilovecville.com. I close the program the same way every time, regardless of the 10 shows on this network. And I ask everybody that's watching the show to please consider the golden rule. We do not make this about religion. We make this strictly about treating your fellow man and your fellow woman how you want to be treated yourself. It's the golden rule. I think Charlottesville needs it more than ever, the Commonwealth, and we know the country needs the golden rule more than ever. I'm Jerry Miller. Enjoy your weekend. Shop local. Be safe. Have fun. Take care.
Jerry, I've been doing this for 21 years. That's the best interview that I've ever had.
Thank you for saying that.
It's true. You did a
appreciate
great
that.
job. And
Thank you.
boy, you did your homework too.
Thank
It's
you.
really
Thank
nice.
you. Well, that's a testament to John over there. Thank you, John. Chandler, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much. We've got one more thing to do. We have to take a picture of the back. All right.